Hello, I'm Yama of Yama Bonsai Studio. Because of Corona, I wanted to make some free videos for you guys to help you out so you don't have a boring time. I wanted to talk about Shimpaku and how they grow them in Japan with cuttings and how they make good and interesting material of them, because it's quite interesting to do. I know I also like a lot of good quality bonsai. But for me, working with this material is also very interesting because you can learn the species, how they grow, everything. So that's why I like to do this. And also it gives a lot of satisfaction. So I only would recommend if people would have except for only high quality bonsai to also work on material like this one. Also this is interesting material for my students. After a while when I've trained them into a couple of years, and they can practice with it, wiring, stuff like that. So I'm going to explain how I work with this material. So when I work on Itogawa Juniper or whatever kind of juniper that I think is very interesting because of tiny foliage or because the trunk develops quite fast and afterwards I can graft onto it. So every time I need to cut, I take cuttings of them, I put them in small size akadama, and I put them in a greenhouse so they can root. So how do I do that? When I cut the branches, it's very important with a grafting knife that I make, if this is the branch, that you already have sizes like these, so not too big, and then you have to have a very long grow shooting. Then I make it into not an arrow, but on the left side I make it cut it like this, and on the right side I cut it like this, and then I can put them in the soil. So then after a year I'm going to check if some already rooted, and then I put them into small pots. When I have put them into small pots, afterwards I can put them into a little bit larger pot, but I still let grow them for a year, or the ones that already have grown a lot, I can put a wire onto it and I can put them into colanders or baskets that they use for a pond. So here's an example of one that I wired and repotted last year. Okay, if you see, we can put some movement into it, and later on, this year, I can put more movement onto it. This is very important because you always need to use sacrifice branches and stuff like that. Because this is for me also a project, I tried to do several things. Because the first batch I did from these, I had the best results with, because I used big grains of akadama and pumice. Why big grains, you can say? Because if you use the same size of big grains, you will have bigger air hollows as well. And like pumice is porous, so you have air holes into them. So a lot of water goes through it, so a lot of air goes through it as well. And you also have akadama, and akadama takes in water and fertilizer. So because they're in the colanders, they dry out quite fast, so you need to give them quite a lot of water. So that means you can also give a lot of fertilizer. A lot of fertilizer means that they will grow very strong, because this is a project tree, so you can practice with it, you know. So the roots can grow here, and bigger air holes also means bigger roots, so they're going to make quite big roots. So that's quite interesting. This one I did with smaller particle size of akadama and bims. This has grown quite well as well. But the best one that I ever made was more or less this one. So this one I started, I think, around 5 years ago. The basket is already falling apart, so next year I need to repot this one again. But also the akadama is now not the good size anymore, so next year we need to repot it. So this was made into 5 years, and this is how it goes, or how it should grow. So what you do is, when you have a tree like this, is you have something like this, yeah, You wire it, you attach it to the pot, you add akadama and bims, and you spread the roots out, so you will get a nice interesting nebari. That's something what I didn't do very well with this one, but the movement is quite nice. Now in some time I can wire this again and let it grow. And if you want to create a big tree or a small tree, you already have to decide from the beginning. Because if you create a big tree, then you can make quite an interesting movement already. And if you want to have a big tree with not too much bendings, then you need to use a bending that's not too strong. Like if you want a tree that's going to be like 25, maybe 50 centimeters or something like that, then you have to be very careful to not like more S-shaped kind of tree something. If you want something like a show, it's interesting if you compact it, but also then you need to know that you cannot make the trees too big. Otherwise you will have something even more compact than this, and then you will have a strange movement or like not much taper. So this we can wire, and then we need to let it grow. So we'll already need to decide what we're going to do with it, which branches we can use as sacrifice branches and etc. So with this one, we use this one as a sacrifice branch, and we already cut some in before, so this can turn into a gene. The only mistake I made is these branches are quite straight, so what I could have done was give them also an interesting movement, that they continue with the trunk would be a lot more interesting, but I still can graft like new foliage closer to the trunk and still produce that. So this one I use as a sacrifice branch, and this one as well. So when we have had this one, then we need to grow it out more. Okay, that one was done last year. This one was done 2 years ago. So here you can see the trunk has already got quite interesting in size. Here I write more branches into interesting sizes. So that's what the next part should do. Also, you need to grow these growing tips very long, and the ones that need to keep close to the base, you need to keep them short, like what we've done over here. Then after a while you can add some short. Here's also one I've done, but this is another species. That one was Itogawa, and this one is what they say in Japan like B-type. B-type is more or less Sargenti or Kishu. And as you can see, this one I put in big size Akadama and Bims. So this one's grown quite well. And after this tab, because we wired the branches, in a few weeks I can wire it again. And what I've already started to do here is I want this to be a compact tree with quite a lot of movement, interesting movement. So I decided when you have sacrifice branches that you can cut these and let these to grow here as well. If you do that, this will get enough air and this can grow and continue further on. So what we can do next as well is add some shari, if we would like to have some shari as well. That's a technique what you do also in Japan to create very interesting natural live veins in Deadwood. If you do it every year a little bit and add some more, you will get nice texture into it, but could be very interesting. So this is another one. Then this is as well one that we've done. This one is now in its 4th year, I think, 3rd or 4th year, I don't know anymore. First we had it in this calendar and it got quite thick. This one we let grow, and this with these branches we can make the original tree and make a nice compact interesting little shorin or something. I want the trunk to expand a little bit more. At this one I didn't make some deadwood yet either, but in the future we will do. A technique what they also do in Japan, and I haven't done it yet and I wanted to try it since this year, is that they put the calendars into another calendar so the roots can grow longer as well. Because if you don't do it, this here This will grow and this will continue, but the roots will not have enough roots to give energy to this part of the tree. So, and we still need to develop the tree and continue more, so this would be interesting to see how this works. I'm looking forward to test it. Then back to this one. So this one, we made interesting movement into it. We made compact, we let grow of this part, and then we did the Deadwood. And every year, when we had Deadwood, and that's how they make interesting Deadwood. When you have a movement like this, and then the trunk goes from this side again. And here you start with adding that wood like this, and here you start adding that wood like here as well. And every year you can make it more on like both sides eventually as well. And every year you get more texture like this, and the live vein will swallow, get more big, so your trunk will get bigger in size, and you will create interesting Deadwood that's connected and that's like spiraling. What they also do is, because that expands, like in this size, and if you have the movement like that, that makes it quite interesting in a while, because your Deadwood is flat and goes like twisting like a corkscrew actually. So this is something quite interesting, or an interesting technique when you develop it. I also have another tree that I think they have done in maybe 10-20 years. It's quite an interesting tree, and they have done the same thing with it, but I can show you that tree later. Here I can show you now this one, what we did, what I meant with the technique, because every time you see it, you will see it better and better and better, and the live vein will expand more. As you can see here, every year we made some more Deadwood onto it. The live vein will thicken, and you can create interesting Deadwood in some time. Now this is just a tree I practiced with, but it's getting quite an interesting tree for its size. As you can see, the trunk is quite big already. And we can make something nice out of it in some time. I like to do these kind of project things. That they did like this, quite interesting Itogawa Juniper. So this one they also did like that. So they growed it, they made a movement into it, and they put it into a calendar probably. And afterwards, when they have it in a calendar like this, and a tree with nice movement, and they attach some Deadwood, quite like this. And they use a sacrifice branch that's going like this. Yes? And then sometime they can put it in another calendar, so the roots can grow and extend. And every year they make the Deadwood more longer and longer, because if you have a Deadwood like this, and every year you will have these lines. These lines will go into that. This will go into there. And here you will go like this. And that's how they create these interesting lines into the Deadwood. I can show you on this one. It looks quite interesting. So as you can see here, the live vein has thickened quite a lot, because they do this technique every time, and because the tree can grow. So the foliage can grow out more. And every year they made some more Deadwood into it, and you want to get this nice grain into it, like you can see here. And the live vein is getting bigger, and then you can cut apart again. And every year they do this. And that's how you can create an interesting tree in some years' time. Like this. This is a beautiful Itogawa Juniper in a nice Tokoname pot. One of my favorite trees in the collection. One of.